Hello, everybody. My name is Celeste. I will be informing everybody about why Black women have an increased chance of having complications during pregnancy. So, I'm going to start off by asking a question. Were you aware that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to suffer from complications during childbirth than their white counterparts? Um, these stats have been reported by American Heart Association, February 20th, 2019. And it's now 2020. And that's a whole year that these numbers have potentially increased. So this is not a black and white issue. Based on the numbers that I just showed to you, that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to have complications during childbirth, things such as proper medical intervention or negligence on the behalf of medical staff are and do increase the chances of Black women dying during childbirth. According to CDC, stats have shown that 15.0 to 17.0 out of 100,000 childbirths, the mortality rates of Black women have increased in the last 2 decades. So out of the 3, I'm going to be talking about racial disparities, and then my next 2 topics I will be going over after this slide. So racial disparities, how do they affect women of color? Well, there is evidence that institutional policies have been implemented and unconscious bias based on negative stereotypes of the Black community, according to NCBI. These preconceived notions actually prevent Black people in general from getting proper help that they need. And this is a huge issue, and nobody talks about it. And furthermore, medical professionals in the obstetrics and gynecology fields have made an effort in recent century to improve preventative care for pregnant women and better protocol for high-risk pregnancies in case of an emergent medical intervention. But NCBI did report that improvements still fall short of helping save Black women's lives during childbirth due to a lack of socioeconomic status. Next, I will be talking about socioeconomic status. So, socioeconomic status has a lot to do with how Black people in general will be treated in any given scenario, and it's based on the pre-assumption that Black people come from a lower class, or they're not worthy of proper medical intervention, based on the slide that I just explained to you prior to this one. Stats have suggested that socioeconomic status in proper preventative care, such as prenatal care, could insignificantly reduce or prevent the death of women of color during childbirth, according to American Heart Association. Stats have been collected by CDC also that have shown that even with a woman of color having a college degree has a 5.2 chance of dying during childbirth. And lastly, which might come to a shock to everybody, is that Serena Williams and Beyonce have experienced this firsthand. They both suffered from complications and the medical staff just dismissed them, and it led into a very serious medical situation where they needed help urgently, and thank God that they did, because given if they hadn't, they wouldn't be here today. And that's usually the case with most Black women. They don't get the proper medical intervention that they need, and it ends up being something very serious when it could have all been prevented initially had a medical staff just acknowledged the discomfort or the patient saying that there is something wrong and I do need help. Next, I will be talking about predisposed health conditions and how they do correlate with the mortality rate of Black women. So I'm going to talk about the few predisposed health conditions that many Black women do go through based on stats that I have collected from credible sources such as American Heart Association and CDC.